Has the Quran been perfectly preserved, or has it been absolutely corrupted? That's the question I want to talk about today, and it's a debate that's been going on for quite a while. Those who are not Muslims try to discredit the Quran by saying it's been corrupted, and they use Islamic sources to show that, as well as some other sources, while those who are Muslims show that, hey, here are the texts, here's what we can see, it is perfectly preserved. Today I want to kind of look at both sides, and I want to really go through what non-Muslims show to try and discredit the Quran. I brought a few texts with me today. I am not going to take the time to go through all of them. I'll put them down in the text box so you can look at them, as well as the bibliography information. But I just grabbed 7 different Islamic sources to look through. And the first one I want to quote says, Umar said Ubay was the best of us in recitation of the Quran, yet we leave some of what he recites. Number 2, Aisha said, the verse of stoning and of breastfeeding an adult 10 times was revealed, and the paper was with me under my pillow. When the messenger of Allah died, a tame sheep came and ate it. Number 3, Aisha narrated that during the life of the Prophet, 200 verses of a surah were recited. But when Uthman collected the Musaf, he only succeeded in locating the present number of verses. Number 4, we used to recite a surah which resembled the length and severity of Surah Barat. I have, however, forgotten it. Number 5, Uthman sent to every Muslim province one copy of what they copied, and ordered that all the Quranic materials, whether written in fragmentary manuscripts or whole copies, be burned. Number 6, Umar was once looking for a text of a specific verse in the Quran he vaguely remembered. To his deep sorrow, he discovered that the only person who had any record of that verse had been killed in the Battle of Yomama, and that the verse was consequently lost. And the last one I'll share, number 7, Umar who said, let none of you say I have acquired the whole of the Quran. How does he know what all of it is when much of the Quran has disappeared? Rather, let him say, I have acquired what has survived. Now, looking through those, we can understand why non-Muslims would come to the conclusion that the Quran has been changed. We can totally understand that, but they go even further. They say, look at the Quranic reciters that Mohammed preferred. There was 3 guys Mohammed preferred as their Quranic reciters. The first one was Abdullah bin Masud, and his Quran had 111 chapters. The next guy was Ibn Kab, and he had 116 chapters. And then we have the Quran we have today, which has 114 chapters. And non-Muslims point out and say, hey, look at all the discrepancies between the guys who Muhammad liked most as his reciters. And they point out one specific thing. They say that Muhammad's number 1 reciter was Abdullah bin Masud. And Abdullah bin Masud actually said of Zayn bin Thabit, oh, you Muslim people, avoid copying the Musaf and recitation of this man. In other words, Muhammad's top guy did not want Muslims copying from Zayn bin Thabit. Well, the Quran we have today comes from Zayn bin Thabit. So Muhammad's top guy says don't use the Quran we have today. And you can understand again why non-Muslims would use this against Muslims in their stance on perfect preservation. The last thing that they share, non-Muslims that is they say, look at the oldest Qur'ans we have. There's a number of them, and scholars have taken these Qur'ans, put them all together, compared what they say to see if they say the exact same thing together as well as the same thing our Qur'an today, and they found discrepancies in these ancient Qur'ans, the oldest ones on the planet that we've discovered. They found some discrepancies. Let me share them. The Tope copy, they found deviations from grammatical rules and spelling. The Sumar manuscript, scribal mistakes and copyist mistakes, and only goes to Surah 43. The Mal manuscript only has 53% of the Quran. The Great Paris manuscript, corrections in the text, disagrees with the Quran Musaf in 93 places, later modified with erasures and additions. And then the Sana manuscript, different numeration and surah arrangements, different scripts pointing towards evolution in the text, numerous variants including different words and chapters are on different order and difference in theological sense. So the oldest manuscripts, what they're saying here, the oldest manuscripts differ from each other and differ from the Quran today. Now we can understand, we look at all these things, here is their stance. Here is what non-Muslims say why we should not adhere to a perfect preservation stance. Now, Muslims, in defense of the Quran, they say, look at the Quran itself. Look at the Quran, specifically two verses in the Quran. Surah 15:9, they say, indeed, we have sent down the reminder, and indeed, we will preserve it. The next text they use in defense of the Quran, Surah 85, 21, 22. But this is the honored Quran, inscribed in a preserved state. That's it. That's all they have to defend the Quran. They have no evidence from early Qurans to show that it's exact same. They have no line of perfect Qurans. All we have is a bunch of Islamic sources that show the Quran has been changed. Obviously, not everyone adheres to that, but there's a whole lot of material that says it's been changed. And it's hard to discredit all of that because it all says the same thing. The Quran has been changed, or we don't have all of it. And then the reciters, Muhammad's main guys, come up with different Qurans. And then we actually can examine the Qurans we have, the ancient Qurans we have, and they're different. So even if the Quran says it's perfectly preserved, the undeniable evidence shows that it's corrupted. I want to challenge Muslims out there. I understand that biased imams have been shoving perfect preservation down your throat, making you believe that it's a perfect preserved text. I'm asking you, take a step back, do actual scholarly research.